Good evening and welcome to this Facebook Live event. My name is Lauren Maloney. I'm a Public Information Officer with the Northwest Incident Management Team 6. Tonight we're going to have a public meeting where we will have short presentations and then we'll follow it by a question and answer session. This is our first virtual public meeting since assuming command of the Cameron Peak wildfire, and we hope that your experience getting information from our team feels seamless through the transition from the Southwest Incident Management Team. Together with this virtual meeting, our public information boards, and our media interviews, as well as Facebook posts, we hope that you're getting enough information, and we hope that tonight will help you to clarify any questions that you have and get you what you need. So we're going to move right into our first speaker, which is Incident Commander Shawn Sheldon.
Good evening, folks. My name's Shawn Sheldon, IC with P&W Team 6. And first, I just want to say thanks for you guys all taking time out of your busy day to tune in and listen to what we have to say. You know, we're here with our team who primarily are comprised of people from Oregon and Washington, but we do have people from the East Coast on the team. We have people from California, from all agencies, retired folks, and it's our privilege to come here and serve the American people and be here in your community, your state, to help provide the services you need to take care of the valuable resources that we're here to protect. So with that, you know, our folks have been being really aggressive since we got here, where we took the lead from what the previous team had done, building on their successes, and hopefully we can continue the successes they started and get this fire into a place where you're going to be able to feel comfortable going back to your homes, seeing the beautiful landscapes that you have, although they may be a little bit changed. But those will come back in due time. Again, John will come up and give you a good briefing about what we currently have done today. But know that all the actions that we are doing are based on what current weather and fire behavior is dictating. We do have a little bit of favorable weather today and the next couple days. And then we've had some benefit of a fire to the north, which has put some smoke over our fire, which has really helped us as far as doing some of the work that we've been doing out there on the land. There's going to be lots of questions, and we'll have time to answer some of those questions at the end of this tonight. But know that folks out there, all the assets, whether they be people on the ground, mechanical equipment on the ground, and the aviation assets out there who are providing bucket operations and enforcing the work that our troops out there are doing on the ground. So I want to thank you guys all again and look forward to answering some of the questions that you have tonight. Thanks.
And next we have Operations Section Chief Trainee John Norton-Jensen.
Good evening. My name is John Norton-Jensen. I'm the Operations Section Chief Trainee for P&W Team 6. We had a good day today. So what the values at risk identified to us, we had 3 priority areas. We got some good work accomplished today. Up here on the north part of the fire, we had 4 groups of heavy machinery, bulldozers, skidders, large machines, 4 groups of them working from Bel Air Lake, going west towards the 33 Charlie, 33-3 Alpha Road, going direct as possible. We had a group here at 333 Alpha Road working from west to east. They're almost tied this in. They're getting real close. We also had 2 groups of heavy machinery and hand crews working from the Kilpecker radio tower area, moving both east and west, going direct as possible, getting some good direct hand line in. We had very solid aviation support all day with heavy helicopters, medium helicopters, light helicopters, We had fire behavior and weather, which allowed our firefighters on the ground to get some real good work done. So getting some good work done in the north part of the fire for sure. Second priority area was in Division Tango uniform down here by the Pawnee Park area. We've completed some black lines showing some control in this area. We used aviation assets to check the fire spread, kind of moving its way south by Comanche Reservoir and Browns Reservoir. We're using heavy machinery to scout out some indirect line options, some contingency planning in this area as well. The CSU campus and the Pawnee subdivision have a very solid structure protection plan in place. We got some very good firefighters on the ground that are rehearsing that structure protection plan and going over what needs to happen on a daily basis. Down here in the park, I'll get the pointer, sorry about that. Down here on Long Hollow, we had some aviation assets working a little bit of heat down here in this park. Just kind of throwing some water on a little bit of heat down here by the park boundary. That got attention today from the aviation assets as well. Going further on today, we had some real good success. We finished burning out off of the Highway 14 corridor by the fish hatchery here. We had engines and pumps and hose lays mopping up around the structures that we burned around. We used fire as a tool to burn out around these structures because we got this big old green finger of unburned fuel which is getting closed up. So we want to make sure those priority values at risk are getting taken care of. Out here in Division Romeo land, Structure Group North had lots of fire engines checking houses that were in the black, checking houses that were adjacent to the black, working heat, mopping up, securing any kind of heat around structures as much as possible. We also had some resources that were cleaning up some of the slash left over from the indirect line prep as well. Alrighty, and then over here in Division Alpha, we had a little bit of heat over here on drop point 92. We had some folks watching, using a little bit of bucket work here as well. But the big theme of the day, if you look at the map, we got a lot more black line on the map. And that means we are improving our containment. We'll talk about that some more, but all this black here is showing contained. We added containment line down here in Uniform Tango as well. We added some containment line there in the southwest part of the fire, kind of moving towards around here. As you can see up here in Romeo, we added some containment line kind of east of Bel Air Lakes, moving to the east as well. We got a little bit of containment here. We built a big old safety zone for all our firefighters working on the ground so they have a safe area to go back to in case the fire picked up. Look forward to working with you and the public, and I'm glad we could provide this update. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Now we're going to invite up Captain Joe Shellhammer from the Larimer Sheriff's Office. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I wanted to say thanks, real heartfelt thanks to the Southwest team. What a tremendous job they did here in helping our community. And I want to welcome Team 6. I'm super impressed with how engaged they've been just in the few days they're here. We meet with them constantly, talk about our communities at risk, our values at risk, and they get on it right away. And that's showing on the work that was done today. I was up there this afternoon, and all you can hear is dozers moving back and forth. There's no taking our time to figure it out. Work is getting done. One of the other topics I want to talk about is the evacuations. Obviously, everybody that's not in their home or have family members that are not in their home, we want to get them back in there as soon as we can. Obviously, safety is the biggest priority. With the work that's getting done down here, we're definitely having conversations about the Upper Buckhorn, Pingree, Monument Gulch, and having those conversations. And the first moment that we can get people back in there safely, we'll definitely do that. A lot of good work was done up here. Obviously, the team's not finished. We're hoping to get Glacier View back in there soon. Red Feather, Crystal Lakes, we're having those conversations. I know REA, the power company, was in on Highway 14 today, looking at the poles, looking at that assessment to try to get power back in there, and then phone back in there as soon as we possibly can. Trying to move forward to get people's lives back to normal. The other thing I want to mention today are volunteer fire companies, Risk Canyon, Glacier View, Pooter Canyon, Livermore, Crystal. They were all engaged in mop-up operations with engine crews today, and fully engaged all day long, and really putting together a pretty big effort. And that's kind of the short briefing from Larimer County.
Thank you, Captain Shellhammer. So now what we're going to do is we're going to capture some of the questions that have been asked on Facebook, and we'll call up each individual, we'll call up each of these three to respond to questions. So the first question is going to go to our incident commander, Shawn Sheldon. For several weeks during the updates, we have heard about all the structure assessments and plans that have been made in all the communities around the fire. Can and will the assessments be made available in the respective property owners, or to the respective property owners after the event, so that going forward, individuals can better prepare for their own properties to minimize the workload on the firefighters?
Okay, so great question. So I'll kind of hit on a few things. So when we do structure assessment or structure protection plans, it's done in combination with our wildland forces and our structure firefighters from the local community, a lot of times from your local county fire departments or rural fire departments. When they do that, they are gathering information on how best to defend that piece of ground during the fire, or how you can potentially make your place more fire defensible. All those plans will be held in hand with the local fire departments, fire chiefs. So if you need to get that, that's where you would want to go, is talk to your local county fire department, your rural fire department, and they would be more than willing and happy to share that information with you. It is a good idea to do that. It's a good idea to look at what things you could do to make yourself and your home more safe and more defendable in the future as well.
Thank you, Shawn. We've got one more question for you. I got some feedback that folks are not hearing me as well as they'd like to, so I'm going to try to really speak right into this microphone here. So Shawn, since yesterday, the Mullen wildfire has been advancing towards Colorado. What plan is in place to prevent these two wildfires from merging? We see that they may be merging, are they?
So currently there is a team on that fire. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I talk really loud, so I'm sure you probably can. So there's a team on that fire taking action on that incident. And then we're dealing with this incident here. We are in communication with those folks. Our operation person that we have with our team actually has worked on that team in the past, so has some familiarity with them. And we're starting to have those conversations with them to see how things will progress in the next few days. So that is definitely a concern of ours that was brought up tonight in our internal meetings that we have. And so the next few days we'll be working more and more with that team up there to see how we could potentially work together to alleviate any of those fears that folks have as that fire does progress to the south potentially. But right now we're getting some benefit from the smoke from that fire. It's shading out our fire. It's providing elevated RHs, which is relative humidity, so raising that moisture, allowing us to be able to be more aggressive and take care of the fire that's really the current threat to all the homes and all the infrastructure that's out there right now.
Thank you, Shawn. Our next question is going to be for Captain Joe Shellhammer. So the question is there an updated list of, or have to destroyed property? I think it means, is there an updated list of destroyed property?
Yes. So All the notifications on the properties that been destroyed or damaged went out yesterday. If you did not hear from us, that's probably good news. The Larimer County Emergency Operations Center would also have that list. So if you want to call in Larimer County, just go on the Larimer County website and all the phone numbers are there. There'll be somebody there to talk to you and walk you through that. So yes.
Thank you very much. Our next question is for our Operations Section Chief Trainee, Shawn Norton-Jensen. So the question is, has the fire reached Glacier View homes?
No.
Thank you very much. Okay, Incident Commander Shawn, would you come back up here, please? Is control the same as containment?
So no, they're not. So containment just means that we have a line around the fire, and we feel pretty good that it's not going to get outside of that line. Containment comes after we've done a lot more work. And so you'll hear the term mop up. That's not where we're out there with mops, but we do a whole lot of stuff with hose lays. So we put hose out there with laterals, which are smaller chunks of hose, and we squirt a lot of water. We use engines to put water. We stir that all up, and then once we get hit a certain mop-up standard, which is how deep we're going to go to make sure that the fire is not going to escape, that's what we call control. So we have containment, which just means you got line around the fire and you're pretty sure that's not going to get out, and then control, where you're definitely sure and you're meeting some of those mop-up standards.
Thank you. We have a follow-up question. What is containment now?
So containment right now is going to be going up. This morning it was at 22%, but based on all the good work that's been done out there, we're going to bump that up to 30%. So starting tonight and going in tomorrow, it'll be 30%. And each day we chip away at this, hopefully those numbers will keep going up. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Oh, okay, John, this is a question that I might have asked you a moment ago. What is the current threat to Crystal Lakes?
The current threat to Crystal Lakes is right now the priority of our fire. This division, Romeo, Foxtrot, Lima area. That's why we're putting so much heavy machinery. Yep, the red pointer, sorry, red pointer. So much heavy machinery, crews, and work is going in this section of the fire because it's proximity to Red Feather and Crystal Lakes. So the closest fire to Crystal Lakes is right here. We have a primary plan that's going direct. We have an alternative plan using weeks and weeks of heavy equipment have prepped these roads to make these roads where you can possibly burn off them. And we have a contingency plan, and we have an emergency plan. So we have multiple plans in place to assess the values at risk at Red Feather, Crystal Lakes, and Glacier View as well. But the two most proximate values at risk, we're going after hard right now to meet those objectives.
Okay, John, we've got one more for you while you're here.
Yes, ma'am.
Please speak about the Boy Scout Road and if the fire has been contained along 68C.
So we got some black line on the map by 68C right here. From what I'm being told, the Boy Scout camp is in good shape. So we have a little bit of a burnout going on right here to close up this green finger, but we're getting really close to making this black as well. So Division Romeo on the east side of the fire, we're really close to having containment in here as well. So we're looking really good there.
Thank you, John. Stay close. We'll ask you to come back up
Okay.
in a minute. For now, we'd like to ask the Captain Shellhammer to come up here one more time. And so the question is it possible to have LETA, L-E-T-A, notify folks for both Cameron Peak Fire and the Mullen Fire?
I can check into that. I know the Mullen Fire has crossed the state line about an hour ago, close to the Jackson County border. We did make mandatory evacuation notifications to the residents up near the Old Roach and North Hunholtz on the 103 Larimer River Road. We do have deputies up there right now, just making sure that people can get out of there, and we're keeping a close eye on that. We do have contact with the blue team, who's the Type 2 team that's running the Mullen incident. Fortunately or unfortunately, they were the first team here on the Camera Peak fire. We made a lot of good relationships with those folks. They went home, took a breather, came back, and then they took over the Mullen fire. So I have conversations with our ops folks in the IC multiple times a day. So Larimer County's engaged on both fire fronts, making sure that everybody's in the know on what we need to do, and if we need to move people out of the way and get help where we need to get help. Thank you.
We have a follow-up question for you.
Okay.
When can people return to Crystal Lakes? What criteria has to be met, and has any criteria been met?
So a lot of good work was done today, and a lot of good work has been done from all the teams, putting in these lines, and putting these extra lines in by Crystal Lakes to make things safer. We still have a lot of fire behavior. Obviously last week, if anybody was paying attention, that this fire got up and moved around and chunked up a lot of ground. So we need to make sure that these lines are taken care of. We need to make sure that fire behavior has really gone down, and then we're going to get people back in as soon as we possibly can. I know that's a huge issue, and it's a super hardship on people, and I think about it every day, and we have conversations every day about as soon as we can get people back into areas, we're going to try to do that, but we need to make sure it's safe to do so.
Thank you, Captain Shellhammer. So our next question is for John. So John, people would like to know, how are the homes located between Kinnickinnic and the fish hatchery?
So Kinnickinnic and the fish hatchery, we did a lot of good work the last couple days with Structure Group South. So that's a group of firefighters whose sole mission was to burn out and mop up around those houses. We have that big green finger I was talking about. So we want to make sure that all these houses here, we're doing the best we can. And the tactics on the ground chosen were to burn out around the houses, to prep the structures, to burn out around those structures, to take all the fuel that could impact them in a wildland fire situation, then to mop them up with engines, pumps, and hose. So the burnout was finished today, but there's going to be crews in that area for quite some time, mopping up, securing, making sure that heat is removed from proximate to that structure, to the structures in that location. So we have folks on it, and they'll be on there for a couple days for sure, maybe longer.
Thank you, John. We've got one more question for you while you're up here.
I'm back.
What is happening down in Rocky Mountain National Park?
So Rocky Mountain National Park, we have 2 areas of heat that pop up on our infrared flights. This long draw area right down here, kind of right next to the park. And we have a little teeny bit of heat showing on the kind of the upper headwaters of the Pooter. So this part of the park is pretty inaccessible. The park wants us to have a good plan in place, which we do. We have a division supervisor down here, Division Whiskey Zulu. He's working with local park resources and some resources the team's going to provide. They have a very good structure protection plan in place for Estes Park and the surrounding communities. We have management action points identified, but for right now, what we're doing is we're using aviation assets just to kind of cool us down, and we have folks watching this area and the area in this long draw hollow here, and we're watching a little in this area as well. But most of the smoke's been coming up in here, and we are using aviation assets to put water on the fire with bucket drops, and keep on this with bucket drops for sure.
We got one more question for you, John.
I'm back.
Please explain burnout.
Burnout. It's a great question. So a burnout is when we put fire on the ground to remove fuel between a control feature, which would be like a ditch, a road, a hand line, or a dozer line. So you remove fuel between that control feature and your value at risk. So if I have a house, when we go and do structure prep, a lot of times we dig line around the house, or we remove all the things that can burn around the house, and we light the fuels around it, say upslope and around, so that fuel burns up, goes uphill, or burns away from the house and is removed. So the idea being that if this green patch picked up under less favorable conditions, when it gets really windy, the fire would move at higher rates of spread that we can deal with and impact the house. But if you have the fuel removed from the sides of the house through mechanical methods or burning out, we can remove that threat to the house. So it's putting fire on the ground to remove fuel, like vegetation between what you want to protect and the control feature, burnouts.
Thank you, John.
Yes, ma'am.
So our next question is for Incident Commander Sheldon. Could you tell us, please, the weather forecast?
So the weather forecast for us is really kind of looking pretty favorable for the next 5 to 6 days. And that's probably about as far out as what we want to go. And so what I mean by favorable, there's no big wind events coming. So that's what's primarily been the driver of the large fire growth days was the wind. We know we got fields and slopes, and the fields are dry. So that is a contributing factor, but wind has been the primary factor. Tomorrow we may have a change in wind direction, but the speed of the wind is going to be not a huge factor, maybe a 10-mile-an-hour wind. That change is going to be pushing the fire back into itself, so it'll be more of an easterly component to the winds, and the temperatures are going to be a little bit cooler, so like in the mid-60s to low 70s. So that's what we're looking at for the next 5 to 6 days. So pretty favorable, good firefighting weather.
Thank you. Now we have Captain Shellhammer. So the first question for you, Captain Shellhammer, is there a way to get water turned off in the case of a deep freeze? And thanks for all you do.
So yes, we're trying to get people in. If fire behavior permits, and you come to the roadblocks early in the morning, and we can get you in safely with a deputy escort, we'll try to get you in to winterize your cabin or your home. It really, the bad thing about that, I hate to have you drive up there and you get turned away, but it's really based on fire behavior, so we'd love to do that. One of the other things I forgot to mention was some of our road closures. The Pingree Road is still closed. Highway 14 is closed at Stove Prairie, County Road 27. The Buckhorn Road is closed at Stove Prairie. Red Feather Lakes Road is closed just about a half-mile past the forks at 287 and Red Feather Lakes. And then the Dead Man, Laramie River Valley Road is closed in all areas all the way up to the Wyoming border, and obviously the Mullen Fire is above the Wyoming border. And then Prairie Divide is closed up by 82E, County Road 82E. And I just want to make sure everybody got a good picture of that. This whole area, we're trying to limit people getting in so the firefighters could get after doing the work they need to do and not have any interference.
One more question for you then. Any idea about when lifting restrictions on 14 east of Containment might occur?
One of the other problems that happened down on Highway 14, obviously between Fish Hatchery and Archers and Fish Hatchery down, is all the down power poles. There's a lot of wires down, and plus the burned trees down there. There's a hazard of them falling into the roadway. So we need to get some things taken care of down there. Like I said earlier, REA, the power company was down there figuring out what they need to do to get those poles reset. And get things kind of cleaned up there so we can get people in as soon as we possibly can.
Thank you, Captain. Our next couple of questions are for John. Thank you, John. So the first question is, what burnout occurred along 68C?
Okay, so we have this big finger of green fuel. We have some fire in here, obviously. We want to make sure that fire can't get out. We don't want that fire falling that green finger and impacting the communities east of Division Romeo here. So we're just kind of closing up that door by, like we talked about for the burnout, we're removing fuels, providing good depth, burning up those fuels so the fire can't get out of there and spot over. So that is where the burnout has occurred, and should be finished up.
Thank you, John. We've got one more question. Let's see if you can help us answer it.
Yes, ma'am.
The question is, what is the turnaround time for the air tankers from the time they dump to when they are back on station?
Okay, that's a good question. So we have air tankers, we have helicopters. Air tankers are a national asset. The fire does not own the air tankers, so the incident commander cannot go out and say that air tanker must stay there. So while they're by the values at risk judged all around the country, those air tankers are going to be decided where they go. So if we have the values at risk and the fire behavior to back it up, we're going to get air tankers for sure on this fire when we order them. The problem is they come from lots of different places. They could come from Grand Junction. They could come from Jefferson County. They could come from Wyoming. There's lots of, we call them air tanker bases throughout the country. And those air tankers, there's only a certain amount of them for the western states right now. So they're constantly moving around and doing different missions. They're not usually sitting idle this time of year, especially especially not now. There's lots of fires going on. So depending upon where they take off from is where we're going to get the turnaround time. So the closest one we've dealt with lately has been Jefferson County and Grand Junction. And yes, ma'am.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
So that concludes our question and answer session for tonight. We want to invite you to continue to engage on Facebook. Please feel free to call us on our fire information line. Please visit our INSA web page for the Cameron Peak Fire. And please, if you have any questions or seek information, please hit some of these channels. And then, of course, we'll be back here again Friday night at 7:30. So now I'm going to turn this over to Incident Commander Shawn Sheldon for some closing remarks.
So again, like Lauren said, any additional questions that you have, feel free to put them in the comment section and we'll try to answer them as best we can. Again, I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. I mean, we're here to work for you. We appreciate the values at risk out here just as much as you guys do. And our job is to come in and do what we can to protect those values the best way we can, and to get you guys back into your homes in a safe manner and in a timely manner. All the firefighters out there are doing their darndest. They're working hard. We're working 24 hours a day. We have folks out there in the daytime and at night working, trying to achieve the objectives that we've set forth for them to do. We are going to continue doing those efforts until at which time we are going to be going back home one of these days, and you'll be going back to your homes. So that's what our goal is to do this in a timely manner, in a safe manner, and to get you guys back home as soon as we can. So with that, have a good night. We'll be doing this again on Friday, so look forward to chatting with you all and hearing some more questions. Thanks.